The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Karen Miranda. Welcome to Whispers from the Other Side. We are coming to you live from QA TV, Channel 8 in Quincy, Massachusetts. The lines are now open, so feel free to call the station. Our loved ones are gone but not forgotten, and just a thought away. Tonight I'm going to be talking about transition when we trans over to the other side. And I had an experience a little while ago, just to share about energies and things like that, that sometimes when you see black, it's not always a negative thing. I had the honor and the privilege of helping somebody to cross over to the other side, and all of a sudden I looked over and I saw this black in the room, and I said, all right, I never experienced anything like that before. Not everything is negative too, just to let you know that. And when I couldn't figure out what was going on, I started praying for the person, for their transition from this life to the other side, because it does help with that transition with prayers. And with that, when I had that experience and the person just drifted off to sleep, I called somebody I know who's a very good medium too, and I said to her, I saw brownish black in the room when so-and-so was getting ready to pass away. She did say to me that could be what happens is our body sheds from the physical life to the spiritual life. That's why prayers are important when you cross over. And she said it could be just with them letting go of the old energies and things that they did. They're just letting go of stuff that does no longer serve the purpose of, crossing over. So just letting go of, all the negative and whatever things they had. It was really very nice to hear that about that when that happened to me, because it kind of took me off guard, because I always see things that are, the spirits and the different things like that. People, and I just wanted to fill you in on that. So it's not always bad, negative things like people think sometimes, but it can be, and that's why I said, I don't deal with that. It's always from the highest and best and stuff like that. And the person, still needed prayers, so I continued to pray for them. And prayers do help with transition from the physical to the spiritual side of, I call it heaven. Everybody has their own belief system of, with people when they cross over to heaven on the other side. And I thought it was really wonderful. And somebody did say, well, how do you know if they're in a good place? It's just your faith and knowing, that whatever life lessons you learn, over on the other side, that's your choice, and you do, and things like that. The other thing I want to talk about is things that people have asked with questions with the afterlife, unfinished business. Sometimes people have unfinished business over there, from over here, and people want to know, with unfinished business, what happens when they cross over to the other side. Whatever unfinished business they had goes away. Then they ask me, do they have memories and things like that? And you hear me saying all the time when I do a reading that memories are the person that shares with you, through a dream or something like that, that they did with you. So that's a good thing, with that part of it, with them sharing memories. And if you, remember something that happened, and you think of that with the person. It could be the person visiting you saying, hey, I remembered the memories that we did together, so those are visits too. The other thing is music. If you should hear music on a phone or something like that, or when you're in the car listening to the radio, because I know people listen to their phone now too a lot, so that's why I said phone, that and a song comes on that you guys had special, meaning to you, that's just them, hey, I'm here listening in. The other thing is too, can you tell them thank you and everything like that from me? You guys can say thank you too, because they are listening in from the other side. And when they do hear you saying, thank you to them, they are listening in and things like that, just to let you know that. And it was funny because the other day my daughter Michelle said to me, Ma, I had a dream about my dad last night. And I said, it was something that they did together a long time ago when she went to her dad's work with her. And I said, oh, and she said, I haven't thought of that. And I said, to be totally honest with you, Michelle, I haven't thought of that either. And it was like going way back. But what I'm trying to say is she thought of that, had a dream about that in the present. And I said, that's just happy times that you remember that you did with your dad. And her dad was visiting her in her dream to share that with her, with that memory of that experience with that. And I thought that was really wonderful. And I thank Michelle for sharing that with me too. The other thing is too, when you die and everything like that, if you have a arm that was deformed and stuff like that, or whatever you had for your illness, it's all healed and all healthy when you go cross over to the other side. That's when prayers do help, because it's like I said, it's musical lyrics going up to heaven. And I think that's totally wonderful. Birthdays and celebrations, the reason why I say happy birthday to you guys a lot is because I have something I want to share. With our birthdays is, and death and anniversaries is when I go to graveyards. I don't go that much anymore. When I first started, learning and growing as medium, it used to be, it was funny, my daughter and I were talking in the graveyard, my other daughter, and she said, Ma, today is your birthday. I go, I know, I'm in the cemetery. And it was like kind of like appropriate for me, I guess, and things like that. And I said, but we're in the cemetery, so death is really a celebration of life. And I said, thank you to my daughter. And it was wonderful because when I did that, I got thinking about that with the celebration and birthday things. And it was always interesting because I would always end up in graveyards during birthdays. Another time I can remember with the birthday, with the anniversaries and family reunions too, it was something else because I was in the graveyard with my cousin, and it was during a family reunion. You know how those could be, so we went up to the old graveyard, actually in Plymouth, and we look at all the old headstones. I said, oh no, this is too funny. And to me, that's how I look at death. And he said, what? It's an anniversary or a celebration that's going on, and we're here in the graveyard. But that's why with those things, I say that a lot because it's just connecting with the present time, you know what I'm saying? So it's birthdays and celebrations, roses. When I see roses, and this is the part with the clairvoyant part of my gifts, when I see yellow roses, that means friendship. White means celebration. The red ones, believe it or not, do mean death, and people interpret the red roses with being in this way, because somebody's around me right now from the other side too. And red roses do mean celebration and happy birthday. And so I just sharing some of these things with you to continue The hardest thing sometimes people have is letting go of a loved one when they pass away. It is hard, and it's, you know, never easy to lose somebody, especially, you know, when it's a family member or whoever it is that was special in your life. But it's nice to know that they are listening from the other side. Just listen for like songs. You know, you might see a rose out of your head and different things like that, which is wonderful because they do have that special meaning, you know, to me. So usually they are right. Oh, when I see birthday cakes too, it's kind of cool because that usually sometimes means that somebody has a birthday. And that's why a lot of times I do get happy birthdays to you guys at home, because they're sharing that it's your birthday and something special with their memories that they shared with you when you were what you did together. That was a happy time. And they remember more with me, it's happy times that you guys did together and stuff like that. The special piece of evidence that I talk about, especially when spirits do come back, that is something I learned in class. That special piece of, you know, evidence. But when they come back, and they will come back with more messages. I have people come back all the time and to have extra messages that they do give and everything like that to the person that's alive. So that's when somebody said, when I learned in class, ask for that extra piece of evidence, which is when you guys hear me say the clencher in a reading, because it is that special piece of extra evidence. And if somebody calls back, you know, you want to know more and everything like that, which, you know, it's okay. You do evolve over on the other side, and you learn and grow. It's continuous. It's, you know, and, you know, your loved ones are there to greet you with open arms, but the birthday celebration and everything, people are looking down, seeing that. Or it could be someone on the other side that you're getting, you know, you're celebrating their birthday, and they see that too. The other thing I would like to talk about is healing. And, you know, it's, you know, when you have that happen and, you know, you feel like, oh, I didn't do enough for them and stuff like that. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be sad. And, you know, you just get through it. Like when holidays come around, it's very hard the first time. But then after the first time, it gets easier. You still miss your loved one, you know what I'm saying? But at least that is a good thing, you know, that you do miss them, because it's normal. It's totally normal. And, you know, you just wish they were here, and they are here. It's just spiritual. The other thing I would like to talk about is hearing. I can remember one time when my uncle passed away, another close uncle of mine, and I heard a voice in the night out of my head. All he said was my name. And I just looked, and I couldn't see anybody that was there but my uncle. So I looked up to the heavens. I said, thank you. And I said, if it's you, Uncle Larry, go to Auntie Anna, because she really misses you a lot, and she needs to know. It was like 1 a.m. And so they said, okay, you know, I said, okay, and let her know that you are around. So a couple of days went by and everything like that. I said, I gotta give my aunt a call. She used to pray for her, but she's now over on the other side in heaven. And she said, I called her, I said, Auntie Eleanor, are you okay? She said, Karen, I have something to share with you. And I said, what was that? It was around 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was in a deep sleep, and I said, you know, so I said, what to her? Because I like to know too, you know, and stuff like that. She said, I heard Larry call my name. She said, I didn't hear anything else. And I said, that is so awesome. I said, he listened, and it was really kind of cool that, you know, I know it's not about me, but I had to ask for him to go to her, and he did go to her. One time too with Uncle Larry, there's different ways they communicate too when they pass away. was I thanked him very much. But there was another time I had something wrong. It's kind of personal, and I won't say. And sometimes when I'm talking with them or they get communicating with me, I say to them, you know, okay, you got to back off. You hear me say that all the time. But I was in the hospital, and all of a sudden, I heard, pray, pray, and that's why I'm going back to the prayer thing again with you guys. He said something special that I can't say, but I said, okay. And of course I called my aunt up because I could, and I said to her when I got home, did you, Uncle Larry prayed, blah, blah, blah. You know, she said, oh my God, Karen, not too many people knew that's who we prayed to all the time. And I said, well, he was there with me in the room, just to let you know that. And it could be telepathic communication too, but prayer is very, very important. And I just was like thanking Uncle Larry for going to Auntie Eleanor. Then there was another time I heard my Uncle Charlie's voice, and all they said was my name. And I had learned not to question my gifts. This is how, you know, they're coming across to me with my gifts. And one time I was like sitting there going, and it was very loud when I was getting tested for something, and I heard, stick with me, kid, coming in very, very loud. And I said, all right, I'm having one of these moments, you know, and things like that. And I said to Uncle Charlie, okay, I know who I can ask when I get home. My late mother is, I said to my mother, I need to ask you something. And she said, what, Karen? Did Uncle Charlie ever say, stick with me, kid? He said, oh my goodness, who have you been talking to in the family? And I'm like sitting there saying, okay. And I said, nobody. She said, you weren't even born, but your Uncle Charlie used to say, stick with me, kid. And I said, well, I have a message. I gave her the message and stuff like that. And we just left it alone and didn't say anything more about that. One time I can remember too, when I, you know, feel someone around and it's like, all right. And I was in church praying. That's why this is all connected with prayer. And that's why it's important to pray for people that have crossed away, when they do cross away, and still continue to pray for them. And they said, I was in the church, nobody was in the church. And that used to be my favorite time of the night, to go up to church to pray. And they said they were getting ready to shut the church down and everything like that. I was on a healing team. And I'll explain to you what that is in a couple of minutes. But all of a sudden, I felt a tap on my shoulder, and I was like looking around going, okay, there's nobody here. And this is way before I, you know, started enhancing my gifts as a medium. And I felt this tap on my shoulder, and I was like, oh my goodness, who is around? And there was nobody there. And I was looking for so-and-so in the room that was up there with me, but he wasn't there. He went downstairs. And I said, all right. So I just let it go, didn't think anything of it. And it was just somebody's way of letting me know that they were there. And I said, okay, thank you very much for letting me know you were here with me, and left and went home. Another time I can remember when my sister passed away. This is another story I wanted to share, just for spirits letting you know when they're around. My dad was like 70 years old at the time when she went over to Jamaica and, you know, decided I'm going to live there. He said, okay. Well, my family moves, they sometimes move really far and out of the country. And so I said, all right. So he had to go and bring her body home. And to me, that's the hardest thing a parent has to do, especially at 70-something years old. And when I was in the kitchen cleaning up, all of a sudden I felt this breeze come in the kitchen. It was very, very strong. And I was like, all right. And I looked around to see who it was. There was nobody home. I said, oh, Joanne's home. She was letting me know, and sure enough, she was home, letting me know that she was around. spiritually. Do you ever go to like a wake or, you know, a funeral and feel like you're not alone, things start to happen and everything? I'll explain a little bit to you about that. When I was younger, one of my aunts passed away, and I went over to pay my respects and say my goodbyes, which is not goodbye, it's just the beginning of the spiritual journey. Just the journey here, her journey here was finished. And I was nervous because I felt like she was there and that she was going to get up. I don't mean to be disrespectful. You know, her body, her physical body, her spiritual body was going to come up and say, hi, how you doing? This was connecting with present time, still a couple of years ago, but one of my favorite aunts had passed away. Another experience I wanted to share with that is I was so glad somebody else in my family experienced spirit presence. And my daughter said, Ma, I felt like Auntie Marie was there at the funeral. I said, she was. She just wasn't there physically, but she was there spiritually. And I said, why? She felt like she was disappointed in the turnout at her funeral. I'm like, that's not very nice, Melissa. But it was just, it was okay because, you know, she was young at the time. And I said, that's okay. She had a pretty good turnout, actually, but that was just, I was so glad that she experienced that, to have that experience. So that made me feel really good with funerals and wakes and everything. And one time I can remember going to someone's funeral years ago, and I was like going up to say some prayers to the person that passed away, and I said, you know, said some Hail Marys and whatever, and I'd like looking around, trying to be as normal as possible, because believe me, in my world, there's no such thing as normal, okay, and things like that. So I started saying some more prayers, and all of a sudden I looked up, and the person was manifesting over the casket with their spirit energy like she was going up to heaven. I experienced that one other time, but it was just so wonderful because she was transitioning from the physical body to go up to the other side in the spiritual body, you know, and I thought it was wonderful. And I'm like looking around. Nobody was watching. I said, oh, I'm so glad. And it was, you know, very interesting that way when that happened. And you will sense them at funerals and wakes and things like that. My late dad actually told me an experience he had. And I'm sure some experiences, you know, this way too, so that way you guys will know what to look out for too. He said, when we got down at your uncle's, it was his wake, he said the flowers kept knocking down and the door was, you know, kind of half open and closed. And we kept going over to put them back up, and I'm like, didn't understand it at the time myself because I was just a kid, you know, well, young adult actually. And he said, but it kept happening, Karen. And I'm like, now today, knowing I can understand what that was all about too, it was somebody trying to communicate with him. He was letting them know I was listening into just some experiences about the wakes and funerals with everybody. I'm going to start a drawing, and I do have someone in the studio tonight too that they had impact when they passed away to the head in a car accident, and they were young. They were about 30 years old when they passed away, and I'm just going to get going. And I know it's always scattered like that with me, but I'm scattered everywhere anyway, so I just had to let you guys know that. Just getting them on. And the lines are open, so if you guys even want to call and talk about mediumship and your experiences, that's okay too. Feel free. prayer, the reason why I'm touching base with you guys about prayer too, because when you guys do that at wakes and funerals too, it's helping them evolve too. And I had to explain a little bit about not everything is bad when you see like dark energies. It's just the release of that. I'm glad I don't really experience that too much though, so I'm very happy about that. And tonight, it was kind of funny. I was telling Michelle, when I used to come and film my show years ago at the station, the hallway lights would blink on and off, and it was really interesting because I hadn't had that experience. But when I went into the bathroom tonight, the lights started blinking on and off. So I said, "Hi guys," and just to tell you that, deal with the electricity part of it too. And sometimes, you know, when you get afraid of death and everything, it's just the fear of the unknown, because you don't know what's going to happen when you cross over to the other side. And it's not totally normal to, you know, have a little bit of fear. It's just the unknown with all of the death things, you know. Mm. This is who I have a little bit on the paper right now. I just put it to the camera the best I can. The young man that's around me. Our war heroes. People don't realize, because I've had a couple of things with our veterans are over on the other side that they experienced with me. I did a reading for somebody one time, and it's okay for me to share. I won't say who, but after I was done with this reading, and I said to him, people passed away and you were there to help them. He said, "Oh my goodness, yeah, that is true," because sometimes it's hard, especially to see a friend pass away and things like that, and they just wanted to make sure that the bodies got taken home. And I admire any soldier or anyone that goes through that on the other side that's here, to have them, you know, protecting us, and to have them help their, you know, platoon, I don't know what it's called, but to help them to, you know, die with dignity too, because they're helping to keep us safe and free. I think it's really, really, you know, very thankful for that. And with the reading with that I did with him, he said, Now let me tell you a little bit about myself. I said, what's that? I'm a scientist, but you made a little bit more of a believer out of me with the gifts. And I said, it's not about me. And you guys always hear me saying that at home, because it really isn't about me. I'm just a person between the veils, and just to deliver messages from the dead people that are over in heaven to the living that are left behind. And, you know, it's just wonderful. And it's wonderful to know that the people that were serving, what they were serving, and saw their friend pass away, that's tremendous, you know, to know that at least they were in the comfort of their friend and loved one that's over there serving to help. And I think that's totally wonderful. The other thing is prayer. I'm going back to prayer again. Prayers, you can also send distant healing prayer too. And when you do that, you can just knowing that the prayers are going to somebody. If you're not with them in the room when they get ready to pass away, you can, it's what I call distant prayer, because then you can help with that crossing over, believe it or not, with the prayer, by sending the energy to where it needs to go to. It's okay if you're not there. I remember when my friend passed away, and I was so hurt, because I'm human too. And somebody said, were you there for them when they passed away? And I said, yes, I was. Then that's all that counts. And if you feel guilty because you weren't there, you don't have to feel guilty, because you were there for them, and just the best way you knew how to be there for somebody. And that sometimes is even more. And sometimes people are going to maybe question this a little bit. I believe sometimes you choose how you want to pass away, believe it or not. If you want loved ones around, sometimes people just cross over peacefully in their sleep, warm in their beds. That happens too sometimes. And it was really something else, because when I did a reading for someone a while ago, and I said they just drifted off and went peacefully in their sleep, and they just looked at me and they said, yes, they did. And it was so nice to know that they were warm, and even though family wasn't around or friends, that they were safe in their bed when they passed away. And it was just really comforting to know that, you know, and just, that's what I believe. Everybody's different, and we all have our own free will, which is good. And I just had to share little tidbits and pieces again tonight with you guys. But it was just wonderful knowing that they were safe in their bed, and that she was very much loved by her family. And it was quick too, so it wasn't like on and on. Sometimes, you know, people do, you know, die from being in a coma. And when you're in a coma state, even though you're not there physically, you're there spiritually listening in. And, you know, I was talking to somebody who was in that state and sharing everything with them. And I knew that they were there spiritually with them, and said some prayers with them too. And it was hard, I'm gonna be the first to admit it, but, you know, telling stories when your loved ones are getting ready to cross away, it's okay to tell stories, because that way they are listening in, even though it's not the way you're used to listening in with them when they are physically here, but spiritually here. And look for the signs with the communication with them, because sometimes it could be a squeeze of a hand if you're holding their hand, or even with body language. That's also a way that they're communicating with you. If they are not here physically to communicate, especially if you pass away from dementia or Alzheimer's, or even a coma sometimes, just know that they are listening in from the other side to hear what you have to say. And it's nice to know that, you know. And I just had to share that with you too. And I hope everybody's staying warm. And I do have somebody's mom that's around me tonight too, from the other side. And they're saying she looked a lot like, I look a lot like my daughter. I'm feeling 5'7" with her height, going up to 5'8", slender, and like all of us as she aged, she did put on a little bit of weight, heavy in the chest. Hair was cut short to the head, but more like the pixie hairstyle haircut that she had. And there's a lot of resemblance with her daughter. She's saying to me that's still here on the other side. And I just had to put that out there. And she's happy to have her independence back too. And she was up there in age too. She just wanted me to tell whoever this person is. And I'm feeling, again with the common name, but Mary, and there's a Joanne connected to this lady that's on the other side that's coming through. And she said, I did appreciate the care that my family gave me, and somebody needed to hear that, she's telling me. I'm just thinning his eyebrows a little bit. And that's what I wanted to share with everybody tonight. And just to fill you in with the prayer part of it, those are important when you pass away. And they're always important. And in the beginning, I was all over the place because I was like, okay, so what are we going to talk about tonight? But everything all came together. And he's almost done. And he's in like his 30s, just to let you know that. When I first started drawing, it's just another way that they could communicate with me as a spirit artist. I actually did start drawing here at the station. And you just never know who's going to show up. And I get a kick out of the old ones sometimes too, because everybody likes to look good on the other side when they, they pick, you pick the age you like and things like that, only if you want to. But my beliefs is, like I said in the last show, I just believe, you do recognize somebody from their energy when they were here, and it might be full manifestation or not full manifestation that you do see with them. somebody said to me, Karen, what are you going to do when you cross over to the other side, when it's my time? I said, I'm going to get caught up with my buddies. I said, I'm not going to be bothering with my family. I go, they're all over there anyways. But I said to myself, you know, I lost a couple of young friends to cancer a long time ago, and I know, and I still miss them, you know, but I know they're in a good place. So just so you know, if you ever hear your name being called in the middle of the night, that's just their way of saying, I'm here, let you know that I am around you, and things like that. And it was, like I said earlier, it's so funny when people say, can you tell them, you guys can tell them yourselves too, you know what I'm saying, just to tell you that. And sometimes when I do a drawing, you might see me having trouble, like I said before. It's just because there was something wrong with the person when they died, so that's why they're doing that with me. Here he is. One time, I can remember a while ago, I was in somebody's house, and all of a sudden I could hear footsteps in the place where this person lived that was deceased. And she said, the person that I was with saying, you hear that, huh? And it sounded like footsteps. And she said, it is footsteps. You know, I know who it was, but I can't say. But I said, yeah, just to let you guys know, people do get attached to where they're living. The soul, you know, the spirit sometimes comes and goes, you know, in and out and everything, but they do stay attached to their places, you know, where they lived before. And they would do that, and that's just their way of saying, this is mine, but they do go back to be with everybody on the other side, but they just let you know that, you know, feeling their presence around the room. And the hearing part, I always say, you know, and stuff like that. It just, you never know, and I had to learn to trust. And like I was saying to you guys earlier, it's okay if you're not there with your loved one when they get ready to cross over to the other side. I'm not going to show him because I do have an African-American woman that's around me too, and I'm going to go with her drawing in a second. But if anyone recognizes him at home, just feel free to call the station up. I keep everybody's drawings on this pad of paper, so just let you know that. There's been an African-American woman that's been around me too, on and off, and she had like the afro, And really beautiful eyes. I have to go like this. Big, big eyes. I'm gonna go darker brown with her inside of her eyes. Hi. And she's being quite comical, like when she was here. And I love when they do that, because just the happy things that they did. The unfinished business things, I don't know much about that. I'm doing a kerchief the best I can do. Big nose. Big, big lips. And I talk about what they had, because it's like they let me know during a drawing. One time, a good long time ago, somebody said, "You don't have to say this." And I go, "But it's the way that this people are presenting themselves to me, just to describe themselves." I'll go dark with the drawing a little bit, because she was African American. You know, getting up with the curls, so that way I can do that on the paper too with her. So this is the afro that's continuing more up in this part of her. Here, the deep dark brown eyes, very dark brown. And the lips, the top lip. She loved the lipstick, by the way, too. And I'm getting the name Isabel. There's a woman named Isabel that's around me right now, too, and I just had to fill you guys in on that, too. Isabel. Now she's let me go up with her hair. It's just the afros. I'm not very good at drawing that. But that's what I had to learn, to trust where my hand is going and just let it do its thing. And she said, I have my hair back. I'm very happy about that. That's why she's having me go over the kerchief. Very kind, very caring, and I'm feeling teacher with her too as well. She loved teaching the preschool, not preschoolers, but middle school. And she was a teacher. And when you are praying for your deceased loved ones, remember, they do help with learning to grow it on the other side, like I said at the beginning of the show, because, you know, when you from this physical world to the other side, you know, it helps them evolve on the other side too, with the learning and growing part of it, with the, you know, with what they choose to do when they go over there, and just to let you know that. Prayers are very, very important. And for some reason, this kind lady saying, I'm out in the garden, enjoying the garden. I've got to give her her duck. And she had a cross on, so I'm going to do this with her. She had very strong faith. This lady that's coming under the paper had very, very strong faith. And if you guys, you know, when I do my show, if you ever want me to talk about things that you experience or whatever you want to know about the afterlife, feel free to call me. She wore those house dresses, you know, and I hope people, you guys, you know, got to, you know, learn from the information that I did share with you tonight. And like I always say, even though Karen might get scattered all over the place, I always find my way back. This is what I call a quick sketch. She had all those curls. So I hope what I talked to everybody about tonight was a help with your spiritual journey. And know that there's so much more when it's our time. I'm going to put her up one more time. And I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And if you're alone and you're feeling kind of sad about Valentine's Day, here you go, real quick. There she is. I want to thank my crew and everybody listening in. I know I was all over the place tonight, but that's me, how I do my work. And our loved ones are gone but not forgotten, and just a thought away. And if you have thoughts of suicide, there is help out there you can get, especially with Friday coming up. Sometimes people do get a little sadder, you know, and stuff like that. And I know they have the graphic to put up on my screen. And just let you know that. And thank you for letting me share some of my experiences with you guys. And I want to thank my crew. Thank you for coming in where it's cold outside. And have a great night.